part of the reason for tonight's event, ladies and gentlemen, is to celebrate the ongoing partner arrangement between the City of Kraków and the City of Edinburgh. We're very grateful to Kraków City Council for arranging for Tamara Kalinowska to join us this evening, and we'll hear her perform towards the end of the event. And we're also delighted to have the Deputy Lord Provost of the City of Edinburgh join us, and you will hear a brief few words from her in a minute or so.
Stand up?
Well, you'll be standing up in a moment. Originally, it was intended as a way of celebrating Scottish and Polish music, poetry, and the arts in general. But of course, things took a slightly unpleasant turn in early 22 with the horrendous activities of the Russian Federation and the invasion of Ukraine, and that event quickly turned into a fundraiser for the Ukraine disaster appeal. And we've continued to have a strong Ukrainian representation in these events ever since. So we are very happy to have with us tonight the Ukrainian consul in Edinburgh, Mr. Andriy Kusli, and we will hopefully at some point have the chair of the Association of Ukrainians in Great Britain, Edinburgh, Hannah Beaton-Hamriluk, joining us too.
I am, as I've said, truly delighted to be here, and we come together in support of Edinburgh's long-standing cultural and heritage links with Poland and with Ukraine. And our appreciation goes to the Scottish-Polish Cultural Association for organising tonight's event. Scotland has a rich and vibrant set of communities, including a 100,000 strong Polish community. And of course, they have an extensive network of organisations, media, businesses and Saturday schools. I'm delighted that our Polish community continues to thrive and remains an important driver in our City of Edinburgh as we collectively together continue our economic and social recovery.
And tonight's event was made possible by the generous support of the Polish consulate here in Edinburgh. We're very grateful to Sylwia Spooner, the head of culture at the consulate, and to our second speaker, the Consul General of the Republic of Poland, Mr. Łukasz Lutosłański.
Another edition of that important Polish-Ukrainian meeting, storytelling, music, and art and poetry in the great city of Edinburgh. Thank you, Deputy Lord Provost, for being with us. That's very important because we like and love Edinburgh very much. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm not very much prepared to any speeches, diplomatic affirmations, etc. But I'm in the right place because this is a storytelling center. And I think I was only once in Poland on the storytelling competition with my 5 or 6 year old daughter. That was amazing because that was a storytellers from across the world, and especially from Scotland and from Northern Ireland. I'm not going to repeat that story which was told then, because today we have a Polish-Ukrainian gathering in Scotland. But I think that to understand the story between Poland and Ukraine, it's not an easy way, but there is a few metaphors which could be useful. And like in every story, the story is like a coin. You have overs and reverse. And every story and every war has a very bad and sad story. And most of the stories connected with the war are very bad and very sad. This is a drama. And from the other side, there is a story of something good. And that's the story about the Poland and Ukraine. And I think that there is a few metaphors who could be very useful to understand why we are here in Scotland for many years, but especially for the last years. And I think that both presidents, the President Zelensky and our President Duda, did a very good within our relationships, but I think that one of the metaphor, which is quite often used by Polish president, is a metaphor of table. During one of the many very emotional gatherings during the first phase of the war, the President Duda used to repeat that the Polish people, Polish families opened their houses, their doors, and invited Ukrainians to the table and have a meal together, take care about each other together. And that was a typical example of the Polish solidarity and very much spiritual, because the Poland is still very much Catholic country based on the Christian values, and the metaphor is table is very important. And from the other side, the President Zelensky also was very used a metaphor of two sisters. The Poland is the older sister of Ukraine. That's in fact a kind of historical truth, but we are sisters. It means that the old sister took care about the younger sister. I think within those two metaphors, like a table and the sisters, we could understand a little bit better the deeper meaning of our relationship. Because of course, we are neighbors, like every families. We have a good and bad stories to tell, etc. But at the end of the day, the most important is just we are the sisters and we share the table together. And with that foundation, we can overcome all the problems and the difficulties. That's what we are doing through the last 2 years, because there is sometimes a few tensions, discussions, but generally speaking, we are moving toward the right direction because we have a growing economic cooperation. I think that the Ukrainians feel in Poland like at home. Polish people have the same rights in Ukraine like Ukrainian people in Poland. There's legal legal status equivalent. And this is we have a very strong cooperation between our military sectors. We are just discussing the bilateral military treaty with Ukraine, like United Kingdom did it, like Germany did it. And I think that we are on the good way to create a long-lasting future relations. Of course, there is an issue connected with our history, like with every neighbors, also with England and Scotland. There's always something to overcome. But I truly believe that with those two metaphors of the two sisters and the tables, we will overcome all the problem, and we will invite one day Ukraine to the European table, and Ukraine will be the full member of the European Union and hopefully NATO. That's the big picture, I think. But at the end of the day, and there is always a people, because the politicians are always the people, and they repeat what the people think. And if we will be organizing the event like this, when the people can understand our cultural activities, can listen to music, can enjoy the poetry, we could understand ourselves better and better and better. And if we understand on the grassroots level with the people, we have a good understanding, like sisters, there will be a brighter future for us. And I believe that from from the first hours of that conflict, of that war, that Ukraine will survive and will win, because we know how the Ukrainians are, the brave soldiers, very professional, very devoted, and we can be only inspired through their devotion to their country. That's the story, I think. And always the bad story of that, the bad side of that coin, with the story is incredible and horrible trauma who will stay with us for many years, and we have to take care about the Ukrainian families, about the Ukrainian soldiers, those wounded ones. But we also have a good story, and the good story is that what you are doing for the years here, for example, in Edinburgh. Thank you so much, and please enjoy the evening.
We start off tonight, ladies and gentlemen, with the first of two short performances from our excellent Ukrainian dancers. Please welcome Kvita Ukraina. Our next performer, ladies and gentlemen, is a fine example of the good fortune that is sometimes needed to put together a mixed event like this. My wife, Kiro, has worked tirelessly on organising many parts of this event. Was speaking to one of her Ukrainian work colleagues, asking if she knew anybody involved in the performing arts who might be interested. Only to find out that Natalia herself was in fact a conservatoire trained musician in several instruments. Lovely wee coincidence that gave us our second artist on the programme, playing a selection of pieces by Johann Sebastian Bach. Please welcome Natalia Didkiewska. it's also nice to include either new works or new adaptations of older, well-known pieces. So we're going to have a wee change of pace, ladies and gentlemen, with a bit of a ghost story from the pen of a fine actor and writer whom I've had the pleasure of knowing for the best part of 2 decades. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Dave Robb.
Father worked late, which we would eventually learn meant having an affair. And my mother had her salsa lessons, which we would eventually learn meant nearly having an affair. Blissfully unaware of the complexities of life ahead, my sister and I would look forward to these visits to Nana's. Grilled chipolata sandwiches for dinner. Raspberry Ripple ice cream fresh from the creamery down the road, where Nana, a confident and sociable widow who I'm given to understand was quite the catch in her heyday, had charmed a considerable discount from the wholesaler. Thick chunks of pillowy soft white bread lightly toasted under the grill and then studded with cold butter. Not so much spread as driven into welts on the surface. A kind of British deconstructed take on a croissant, really. What you do is take the over-buttered, underdone toast and thrust it into a mug of hot milky tea until it became droopy and gelatinous, and then slurp it up in one go. Yes, it did leave spots of grease floating on the surface of the tea, and yes, that was the best part. Now, in the year of our Lord 1990, Nana herself became unavailable once a month and deferred the babysitting duties to her sister, who we knew as Auntie B. Nana had been a tad remiss in her provision of the goodies that year, and her demeanour was a little colder. My mother had explained that it was because a friend of hers was very poorly, and might even go to heaven. I was 4, my sister 6, and we had a cursory understanding of death and how old people were frequently up to their necks in the stuff. We felt sorry for Nana, and we complained only a little, and very politely, about the sudden paucity of Raspberry Ripple and the infrequency of the chipolatas. The buttered tea and toast were mercifully constant. We were wary of Auntie B, and the news that she would be looking after us for the first time was one of those unwelcome surprises that tended to reduce me to tears. A glare from my sister and a hushed reminder from my mother about Nana's poorly friend kept me in check, at least to begin with. We had previously experienced Auntie B as an austere character, a sort of distant figure who filled space at weddings and christenings, avoiding the attentions of children and rarely cracking a smile. Always the last to arrive and the first to leave. She seemed unsociable, leaving me to answer the door to Auntie B. The bell would ring. I would get up on tiptoes, straining to turn the knob of the Yale lock, and walk the heavy door back with all my body weight, and look up into the square, scarf-wrapped face of Auntie B. Her round figure, very much unlike my Nana's, filled the doorframe, clad in what seemed like a dozen layers of brown fabric. Being 4, I lacked a repertoire of friendly greetings and would wait for her to speak first. She relished these standoffs, eyebrows raised expectantly, faintly wheezing from her walk. Eventually she would concede, and in her strident Norfolk brogue demand, "Well, are you going to let me in?" I would stand aside without saying anything. She would roll her eyes and enter. "Right, into the bath." Auntie B would roll her sleeves up to her armpits. My sister and I would be plonked, facing one another in the avocado-coloured bathtub, while it was still tepid and running, and the fanatical scrubbings would begin before we were even waist-deep. The tar and petroleum stench of the carbolic soap compounded the misery of being practically debrided by a washcloth, wielded by a woman whose oft-repeated motto was, "You're not clean until you're red." Yes, there were screams and tears every time. Any attempt to refuse the tub, the flannel, or the soap, any foolish utterance of the word no, was met with the curt response, "Nobody says no to me." And that was that. But afterwards, a calm like no other would descend on my Nana's house. With our sobbing subsiding, our sanitized skins slipped into our pajamas, we would be served a perfunctory dinner of pasta with sauce from a jar, which we ate in stunned silence. Then the television would go on, at a low volume, of course, and more of the hamper's contents would be revealed. These treats were strange and exotic, not the mundane fare which we were accustomed to from places down the road. These were sweets I had never seen before and have never seen since. Chewy things that fizzed a little when you reached the end. Rich chocolatey discs whose shells welded together in the heat from the gas fireplace, forming great lumps of multi-textured bitter sweetness. There were glistening multicoloured cubes that were hard and sour in a dozen different ways. Proud as I was of my, what did Mrs. Elson say, advanced reading age, neither my sister nor I could decipher the names of these delicacies, which were as unpronounceable as the names on my Nana's whiskey bottles. Wherever she got the sweets from, there was a plentiful supply. And as we ate them, inches from the key TV screen, discreetly wiping chocolate from our sticky fingers on the underside of the shag rug, lest we be forced to face the carbolic soap again, Auntie B would be resolutely unsociable on the sofa. She would crochet or knit, and if I glanced over my shoulder and caught her gaze with my cheeks full of something sweet, she would give me a bemused look, calculated to remind me of all the fuss it took to reach this point. Auntie B didn't seem happy about it either, and I'm not sure, looking back, that she really knew how to drive. The stop-start journey in an unfamiliar, clanking car was arduous and frightening, and I decided, with the logic of an overly emotional, almost 5-year-old, that I ought not to go to preschool after all under the circumstances. I remained fast in the passenger seat of the car and said simply, "No!" I all but shouted it in her face. She turned red. Or maybe I'm just remembering her turning red. A hand clamped around my wrist. I was flying down the poster paint and papier-mâché lined hallway before I had time to argue. Nobody says no to me. There were no more baths with Auntie B after that, and no more strange sweets. Instead, we stayed home with babysitters and their strange, smirking boyfriends. I asked Mum if Auntie B had stopped coming around because I'd cried in the car, and said I was sorry. But she laughed and explained that Auntie B was just feeling poorly, and then that Auntie B was very poorly indeed, and then that Auntie B might go to heaven, and then that she had. But the news of Auntie B's passing was rapidly eclipsed by that of my younger brother's conception. And talk of Auntie B rapidly became talk of the new baby, who joined us just in time for Christmas of that year, 1992. My late grandfather was a self-made man in the 1950s sense, and the suburban home which had once been just right for a family of 5 was now too big for Nana. And with so many people feeling poorly these days, it was good to have folk around. That year, she pulled out all the stops. One of every decoration Woolworths had sold since 1945 adorned the walls. I went to investigate the kitchen to see if anything tasty had been left within reach when the doorbell rang. Nobody else heard it, so I went to answer it myself. After all, it was most likely another relative or carol singers. And now that I was 5, going on 6, with a little brother to set an example to, I certainly didn't need to tell a grown-up every time the doorbell rang. I went up on tiptoes, fumbling for the knob of the Yale lock, walking the heavy door back with all my body weight, feeling the warmth of the house sucked past me into the cold night, rippling the fog that had crept across the gravel and begun to lap at the tiles of the porch, upon which a pair of black slip-ons now stood. I looked up into the square, scarf-wrapped face of Auntie B. I wasn't scared. I was confused. I wondered if maybe Mum had said someone else went to heaven and I hadn't been paying attention. I was always in trouble for not paying attention. But then I remembered Nana crying. Auntie B had gone to heaven. While I puzzled this through, Auntie B fixed me with her usual wry stare, wheezing a little from her walk, waiting for me to remember my manners. "Well," she said eventually, "you going to let me in?" I thought of the treats inside, The glistening hard candies, the coated chocolate saucers, the brightly coloured scrawl promising happiness in words from all over. And with it being Christmas too, who knew what extra delights lay in store? Yet even as I contemplated the hamper, I shivered. Global warming had not yet made English Christmases quite so balmy as they are now, and it was bitterly cold out there. I glanced back down the hall where contented chatter still flowed from the living room, and imagined everyone's faces if I stepped aside and let Auntie B stride into their midst. The sudden hush, the bulging eyes, the thump of a sherry glass landing in the shag rug, maybe a scream or two. And what would Auntie B do? Would she crochet in the corner, unsociable as always, until it was time to say goodbye again? Or did she have something to say, something so important that it had to be said at Christmas with my mum still tired from having a baby and my nana enjoying the party she worked so hard to throw? I pulled myself up to my full height and did the best I could not to shiver in the icy air. No, Auntie B. You know I can't let you in. Not now. Auntie B was silent for a moment. She looked down at her hamper and then past me into the hallway. My brother, overtired and overdue his feed, began to cry. Auntie B looked at me again, and I shook my head. She nodded hers. All right, my darling. You give your nana my love. And she turned and walked into the fog. I made sure the sound of footsteps on gravel had faded away before pushing the door closed. Nana was in the kitchen pouring herself a whiskey. I didn't know what to say. So I threw my arms around her waist and gave her all the love I had to give. And that would have to do. For now.
Please welcome back onto the stage, Kvita Ukraine. Four of the Bard of Kyle's most beloved songs, it's my great pleasure to welcome onto the stage Nicola Alexander.
My love is like a red, red rose that's newly sprung in June. My love is like a melody so sweetly played in tune. As fair thou art, my bonny love, so deep in love am I. love thee still, my dear, till sands of life shall run, and the rocks melt with the sun. Oh, I will love thee still, my dear, till sands of life shall run. Oh, I will love thee still, my dear, till sands of life shall run. Lying here we peered at thee, Lassie, my dear. Now we are met again, Lassie, lie near me, oh near me, Lassie, lie near me. Lying housed in my lane, Lassie, lie near me. Lying housed in my lane, Lassie, lie near me. Lassie, lie near me, oh near me, Lassie, lie near me. And fill it in a silver tassie, that I may drink before I go. A service take, my bonny lassie, the boardwalk sides, the pier of leaf, full out of the wind, lost rain of ferry. Road or sea or shore would like me longer wish to tarry, or shouts of war that tear afar. Oh, it's leaving thee, my bonny baby. It's leaving thee. It's leaving thee. With lightsome heart, I pulled the rose from sweet upon its thorny tree, but my false lover stole my rose, and I left the thorn in me. Banks and breeze, oh bonny dune, can ye bloom so fresh and fair? How can ye sing ye links of I say weedy, full of care?
Crackhead City Council, who made our final guest's appearance possible. The cabaret club Piwnica pod Baranami is known throughout Poland for songs and literature, for political activism and comedy. And our guest has entertained the institution's visitors for over 40 years. It's my very great pleasure to welcome to the stage Tamara Kalinowska.
Śpiewam do nocy, ja śpiewam dla krów, ach księżyc, ach nów. Ja jestem wariatką mocarną, ja siłę za chłopów mam dwóch. Robot, gdybym w głowie dobrze miała, tak jak sąsiad albo wuj, co niedzielę w mszy płakała, może Bóg odnalazłby mnie mój. A głowa ma chora od snów, na pamięć znam Paryż, Santiago i Lwów, ach księżyc. A na pamięć znam Paryż, Santiago i Lwów, ach księżyc, ach nów. Ma kobiecość wyćwiczona, twarda tak jak skóra stóp. Moja głowa pomylona, niespokojna, bez nadziei pogróg. Ja śpiewam do nocy, ja śpiewam dla krów, ach księżyc, ach nów. Walc mi się przyśnił, dawno tańczony, walc mych najlepszych lat. Kłótni nie pomnę, bujek nad ranem, nie pomnę tamtych dat. Smutny sen z walcem długo ćwiczonym, tańczonym na 3 pa. Pomógł wybaczyć, zapomnieć pomógł, pozwolił jak nieraz. Tancerzu podaj dłoń, ciasno talię obejmij. Walczę tym walcem, czas chcę zatrzymać, przegrywam jak nieraz. Wiem, walc następny będzie dla innej, z innym zatańczę ja. Tancerzu podaj dłoń, ciasno talię obejmij, tuląc zatrzymaj czas, tu sprowadź mnie w trans. Pijany walcem tańcz i nie pytaj, czy mi nie braknie tchu, nie zabije mnie walc. W me oczy patrzeć chcesz, niepotrzebne łzy też. Tej iskry z lepszych dni nie odnajdziesz już w nich. Tancerzu nie patrz w twarz, żadna pamięcią znasz. O łzy nie pytaj też, bo rozumiesz, bo wiesz. La 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 la. You call me a lady and make me go weak. You've learned the same thing as I have, with despair never ending. Though you live for someone, there is no one you are with. Each day I'm the saddest day, and I deceive myself also. The book of my sadness, love me now, when no distance can separate us. You call me a lady, cause you find my loneliness tempting. You call me a lady, I feel cold within. And I play the winner, although my defeat is so heavy. With all year that passes, I'm your winter queen. Each day I'm the saddest day, best at pretending that things will be better. Each day, all I can take is my last hope that it won't last forever. Oh, if I'm destined to be isolated, leave me, spare me, walk away. But do not, no, it can't be so, as if no fact had mattered. Oh, it can't be so, cause it was love for certain. Though we both too full of sorrow, too heartbroken, and we cannot help each other any longer. Oh, that we can't disregard it. No, it can't be so, as if no fact had mattered. No, it can't be so. With no shock that is over, why say goodbye so grimly, with no faraway eyes reading? Why not here, please forgive me? Why not here, you're forgiven? despair is infrequent, unlike what's in films or in theatre. 'Cause when a woman's weeping, it's not like the tears of a maiden. No reason to live or to be, the hope for someone to lean on has got to start fading. You should grow equal to her tears, to say her sobs mean that she is, to say her sobs prove her endurance, to say her sobs mean that she is. That's not a girl's sobs, but a woman's. You claim that you know all her patterns, for all things you have explanation. Don't say that tears cause no blindness, don't even mock desperation. Hide in a song if you like it, if nothing else is worth trying, but be at hand at a moment when there's a woman crying. You should grow equal to her tears, to say her sobs mean that she is, to say her sobs prove her endurance, to say her sobs mean that she is. That's not a girl's sobs, but a woman's. This not a girl's sobs, but a woman's. Yet I dare not believe that it meant more, it meant more. I forget when I'm with you that I'm not my beast, so angelic tends to sound like a yell. And for you I get silent, we're trying to believe this, no one will, no one will, no one will. Friendship is repaid with friendship, let me forget, love for love is separate. All I recall is what kept us close, we will make it last forever. I forget when I'm with you, I'm not Oprah, my darling. I forget when I'm with you, of my own donor voice. The bolero I write you would deserve a good aria, so you won't keep complaining her black chords, her black chords. I've got 6 strings today, but we won't could suffice you, and I play you that something no musicians, no quartet, and no orchestra can ever play. Please forget, love to love is separate. All I recall is what kept us close together, and memory will make it last forever. I forget when I'm with you that I'm not a king's daughter. No, I cannot believe that it meant more, it meant more, it meant more. Mogłeś, ocaliłbyś pamięć, mogłeś odejść w porę, zanim byłam. Mogłeś odejść w porę, zanim uwierzyłam, zanim osaczyłeś emocją wiadomą. Mogłeś, ocaliłbyś honor. Wiem już czemu tak, wiem już czego tak się wstydzisz. Tego co zrobiłeś tego nie zapomnisz mi nigdy. Ty co prawdę masz za statek, a medalik za azymu, byś zwrócił psa do azylu. Mogłeś odejść w porę, była taka. Mogłeś odejść w porę, a nikt by nie płakał. Życie by nie było bólem, co nie minie. Mogłeś, ocaliłbyś imię. Mogłeś odejść w porę, nim się stałeś. Tego, co zrobiłeś, tego nie zapomnisz mi nigdy. Ty, co krwawisz krwią nie swoją i cudzymi łzami płaczesz, krzywdę mi zrobiłeś, tego nigdy mi nie wybaczysz. Mogłeś odejść w porę, była taka. Mogłeś odejść w porę, a nikt by nie płakał. Mogłeś tak nie spalać na swojej orbicie. Mogłeś, ocaliłbyś życie. Tylko o mnie ty nie będziesz grać moimi słabościami, bo ostatnich kobiet przecież się nie rani. Kiedy spytam, czy cię tym też mogłam, ty odpowiesz mi pytaniem na pytanie, bo ostatnim z kobiet przecież się nie kłamie. La, 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 la. Czy coś mogłam zrobić więcej? Czy nie zgubi mnie ten spokój, który czuję? Też nie dowiem się, dopóki nie spróbuję. Nie dopadną nas w przeszłości złe godziny. Nie będziemy przecież karać się za innych. Lecz jak duże drzewa trudno się przesadza, tak ostatnich kobiet przecież się nie zdradza. Póki żyję, pragnę wierzyć, że nie kochać znaczy nie żyć. Kochające serca światu są łaskawsze, bo ostatnia zawsze jest na zawsze. Każda miłość wieczna jest, wieczne kochanie. Kto raz kochał, ten już kochać nie przestanie. Chcę być Tobie wyjątkową duszą bratnią. Twą kobietą mam nadzieję być ostatnią. Twą kobietą być nadzieję mam ostatnią. Milczymy tak podobnym milczeniem. W jednej wszak jest to ten dystans do ziemi. Może dla tych, których nie ma, warto być. Widzimy pył, co w kamień się zmienia. Zanim nas obejmą obłoki, ty nad ziemią 2 kroki. Może dla tych zawsze wiernych warto być. Po to mamy raz walizkę, raz chlebak. Może jeszcze nie raz zadrży cienka nić. Jeśli nie ma was, to nas też nie ma. Może dla tych, którzy będą, trzeba być. Może kiedyś nas też zamkną w poemat. Jeśli tego jutra nie ma, nie ma nic. Może dla tych, których nie ma, warto być. Dla tych, którzy są i będą, być trzeba. Jeśli tej nadziei nie ma, nie ma nic. Jeśli tej nadziei nie ma, nic nie ma. Dziękuję Państwu.
Of course, there is a list of very important people who I'd like to give additional thanks to, starting, of course, with the wonderful performers who have entertained us this evening, but also to all of the organisations and people who made tonight possible. My fellow members of the SPCA committee, many of whom are here this evening, to the Consulate of the Republic of Poland here in Edinburgh, to Krakow City Council, and of course to the wonderful staff of the Scottish Storytelling Centre here on the Royal Mile, and most of all to yourselves for coming along and joining us this evening. But of course it wouldn't be a proper Scottish event if we didn't finish with one more piece from the Bard of Kyle, and if you turn your programmes over to the other side, I'm afraid you're going to have to embarrass yourself in at least one language. I'd like to welcome back onto the stage to join us, to lead us in Auld Lang Syne, Nicola Alexander. Sing along, ladies and gentlemen, with whichever version or versions you feel comfortable.
Should old acquaintance be forgot and never brought to mind? Should old acquaintance be forgot and all Lang Syne? For all Lang Syne, my dear, for all Lang Syne, we'll take a cup of kindness yet for all Lang Syne.
Also in Polish.
Wieczornej ciszy kiedy gwiazd ostatni uściskał. No rozjaśni posta moc, nie będzie po nim słów. Przy innym ogniu inną noc do zobaczenia znów.
Back to Scots.
Here's a hand, my trusty fear, and here's a hand of thine. We'll talk a record willy walk for all Lang Syne, for all Lang Syne, my dear, for all Lang Syne. We'll talk a cup of kindness yet for all Lang Syne.
On behalf of the SPCA, ladies and gentlemen, my thanks once again for coming along and safe journey home. Good night.